And today on this Friday again, Scott, nicely Freaky Friday. Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
Set to go, raring to go, boys. Raring for another amazing broadcast.
Oh, definitely, man. It's always an amazing broadcast on Freaky Friday. I don't think we've ever had a Freaky Friday that was a bad Freaky Friday. A Freaky Friday you can look back and go, that was just crap. You know, no. It's always been one of those things. Remember, it's the best Freaky Friday yet, and we always seem to outdo ourselves for some reason. So,
I do remember one, but it's a Mandela effect. So I wiped it out of my memory. I still probably could ask Gio to wipe it out of the vault, but it was that many years ago that the name escapes me because they're so irrelevant. But hey, we have got a brilliant show lined up today, right, guys? I mean, I'm going to get into some Atlantis woo, and it's going to fit perfectly, almost like a hand in a glove, right, with all of the other information that we've been talking about. And from there, we're going to get into some lost civilizations. Seems the natural progression, wouldn't you think, from Atlantis? And from there, who knows? We'll take it from there, right?
Yeah, because Atlantis is one of those lost civilizations, those pre-flood, was it antediluvian? I always have a hard time pronouncing that. But
good job.
Yeah. I had to really get the gears turning and be like, all right, I got to pronounce this correctly because I always, lost civilizations. And how many civilizations do you think occurred before Atlantis? How many times do you think this little cycle has repeated itself? Do you think here's an interesting question. Do you think the Atlantean civilization had archaeologists out there digging in the ground?
Jocelyn Richardson donated $5 through Super Chat. Just to start Freaky Friday.
Oh, thank you very, very much. And of course, we're going out on, I'll get to your question in a second, Scott. We are going out on the home of Freaky Friday, your number one network, Truth Frequency Radio. We're on Fridays. It is woo. Oh, it's woo all the way. And of course, we've got the chat room over there, or the Wookiee Cave, as we prefer to kind of dub it on a Friday. Head on over tfrlive.com/chat and hang out with all the other amazing travelers in there. Not only that, you get free dopamine in a minute. Yes, indeed. We don't hide it around here. We know what it's all about. But not only that, today we're going out on Twitch TV to all one viewer. Big shout out to whoever that is. It might even be me in the studio on Twitch. I don't know. We're also going out on YouTube for the last time this Friday. And I would like to encourage all of you to follow Freaky Friday, where you can watch it every Friday live. Not only can you hear it on the home of Freaky Friday on TFR Live, but you can get to watch it on the new visual home of Freaky Friday, Odyssey.com. An amazing conversation with Jeremy last night, and he certainly loved his time with the KBS and TFR audience. And I'm certainly liking my time over there. And we'll be able to expand our search for craziness and woo every Friday because we won't be tongue-tied by certain mathematical equations that exist.
We will no longer be shackled.
Oh, I like it, man. I like it. Yeah.
Shackled by the chains of the algorithm. No, it was a fantastic conversation we had yesterday with Jeremy Kaufman, the CEO of Odyssey. And, you know, it's the future. It really is. And I know Kev has always been very kind of weary of moving over to different platforms or trying out alternative platforms. But there's, I think, Odyssey definitely is going to be one of these platforms that is going to be around. It's always going to be competing with YouTube, and eventually, if its growth continues the way it is, YouTube's going to end up having a run for its money after a while. So, yeah. Everybody, viewing right now, head on over to Odyssey next week, and we'll be doing what we're doing here. Just
And I'll still be here. I'll still be here on the YouTube. It's not going away. It's just the Freaky Friday.
Yeah, Kev's not going away on YouTube or anything like that. It's just we're going to be moving the Freaky Friday content to Odyssey, because I think that will allow us to have a much more in-depth conversation about everything, and we don't have to worry about...
And of course, on a Saturday, there will be the clips that can go over here. Will be over here for those who can't get there on a Friday. So listen, everything covered. Everything covered. I'm telling you, we've got all bases covered. In fact, we've got more bases covered than we even know about. And tonight, talking of bases, it's going to be Atlantis. So, Nacy, my good friend, how are you doing before I take the long walk over to the Wookiee cave with my bag of dopamine?
Because I'm free to do what I
yeah,
want.
Man, you're going to love it, ain't you,
Odyssey.
dude? You're going to love it next week, right?
Oh, I'm itching. I'm
Not that you don't love it this week.
Well, I always love it. I love it so dearly, and I shall miss the YouTubers, and I'll miss this, and I'll miss that.
Because they'll
but
be
I
over
won't
there.
stop loving.
You won't, because they'll all be over there, all good in the hood. So Atlantis, dude, before we get into it, and like I say, I'm going to the Wookiee cave. What's your first thought when you hear that amazing word?
Well, right away, I think of Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition when the greatest earthquake ever known, high in the valley, when it struck their tiny raft and plunged them down 1,000 feet below to the land of the lost civilization, Atlantis. Shall we go back? Shall we return? Shall it rise from the depths of the ocean? Hopefully, sooner than later.
No, I like it. I like it. Is it going to make a comeback? That'd be pretty cool, right? So listen, on I go on over to the Wookiee cave. Big shout out to all the people over there. We have got Bam, Sophia, me. You know what me and Sophia are like. We're inseparable. Alan Holmes, good to see. Or Alan Holman. Apologies. I stand corrected. Apologies, Alan. We've got V-Lash. We've got Paradoxical Anomaly, which always tickles me. Not physically tickles me, but the name. You people
I love it.
out there, you people, dirty minds, those lots, Scott, I'm telling you. All one, Daryl Bowles, and I'm sure there's lots more heading over there as we speak. But yes, indeed. So let's get into some of this, right? And I have had on Chris Anatra. Not Frank Sinatra's boy, but just Chris Anatra. And he's the quantum businessman. And I recommend everyone check out his content. And one of his videos that I watched last night really got me thinking about today. And he touched on something in there that made me... You know how I often say you have to go and check what people are saying and things, Scott? You can't just take it for granted. You have to go and see for yourself if you can verify. Trust, but verify, right? So I thought, okay, something really jumped out about Atlantis, and it clicked in my head. And listen, we've probably brought this actual bit up before, but you know how sometimes, like, one bit of information might move you or spurn you on more than another bit of information? And I go with my gut a lot. So I thought, well, listen, even if we've touched on this particular aspect of Atlantis before, I've had that urge. Plus, damn good topic to kick off Freaky Friday. So we're going to go to history.com to kick this off. And, well, I don't have to read far before we get to where we can really see what we're talking about here. But Atlantis, right? It says Atlantis, a likely mythical island nation, mentioned in Plato's dialogues. Timaeus, or Timaeus, I don't know how to pronounce that. My pronunciation of the language like that is very poor, I admit. And Critias now has been an object of fascination among Western philosophers and historians for nearly 2,400 years. So it says that takes us back to kind of 424 to 328 BC. So that's fine. That's cool. It describes it as a powerful and advanced kingdom that sank in a day, in a night and a day, into the ocean around 9,600 BC. So 9,600 BC. Quite specific, right? Doesn't take you too long to do the math, because if you've got 9,600 BC in 2021, you get a number of 11,621, right? Scott, how long have we been harping on about a 12,000 year cycle here?
Can somebody say Gobekli Tepe? Yeah, this whole 12,000 year situation always seems to pop up a lot when it comes to this stuff, and Atlantis, falls into that sort of time frame. So
And Atlantis falls into the sea, and to keep Göbekli Tepe safe, they buried it. So the two of those kind of things fit with the whole big washout scenario, and it ties in with our suspicious observers, ties in with the sun.
Randall Carlson, all of that stuff, the cataclysmic cycles, everything, and then
A, B, C, the cycles round and round. They come around what goes around.
I mean, we must have talked about, did we ever, like, when we've talked about Atlantis before, did we specify that it was like 900 or 9,600 BC that Plato was talking about? Have we really kind of honed in on that? Because this is what really struck me yesterday when Chris Sinatra said it. I thought, well, hang on a minute, right? How many times have we talked about Atlantis? And we talk about cycles. But have we ever really pinned it down? Because I think usually I say, well, Atlantis was one of these other cycles, right? I mean, that really does. Maybe it's me, dude. Maybe I've like jumped a timeline and we've covered the real specific of this near 12,000 year date that we're getting here.
Well, yeah, I don't think we've ever like drilled into it. I think we've probably mentioned it, just kind of just kind of grazed over it, but never really like looked into it. But now that you kind of bring that up, I see what you're talking about here. It's like, well, okay, if we're talking about this, it's a pretty specific.
That's what got me, man. That's what got me. I thought, well, Nacy, listen, to add to this, full disclosure, I watch a lot of Suspicious Observers, as everyone knows. So I've got that 12,000 number in my head. 6,000 year Heinrich cycle as well, I think they call it, like a harmonic, a smaller cycle within this cycle. And I could just be like, maybe it's just I'm confirmation bias in it, but I don't know, dude. This just feels like it's something weird about it. I can't put my finger on why I felt so compelled to get into this and really drill down on this date. It's a weird one even for me, man.
Well, it's interesting. I have revisited Manly Palmer Hall and some of his
I didn't
writings.
actually know his middle name till now. Do you know that? It's always been Manly P. Hall to me.
Yeah.
Scott, maybe I'm a new Kev. Am I like, could be something?
You're a combination. You finally morphed between the Kevin and the David, and now you're Kev did.
Oh, I like it, man. So Kev did says, what do you make of it all, Macy?
Well, it's great that Scotty was already tough on the dilithium crystals and forged up the iron and shoveled some coal, and the douche canoe is well on its way to go where it shall go. But I've always speculated, what if Atlantis is the same as what we call Earth, and that it was a name for the entirety of this orange planet, apple planet, I don't know, round planet, pancake planet, And this is what happens with the civilization's rises and falling. You know, at some point, the cataclysm happened and it knocked us back down, you know, to infants, in our knowledge or wisdom was lost. And we forgot the name that it was at one point called Atlantis. And as time progressed, we relabeled it the Earth.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I believe that Atlantis was not just an island. I think it was a world kind of dominating civilization. Like it had outposts everywhere, and they were able to traverse the entire planet and colonize every, you know, kind of every aspect of the of Earth. They weren't just isolated in one area.
Well, like how fast these different, you know, these countries, they changed their names, you know, just in the last 1,000 years. Look at how many different names have been labeled for these borders around the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, who knows, like, how they ran their societal structure or whatever, but I would assume maybe, you know, whatever this dominating species of hominid, I guess you could say, that we call Atlanteans, I'm sure they had their own factions, maybe their own nations, you know, and areas kind of carved out or whatever. I mean, who knows them, because we don't really understand what the dynamics of their civilization were. But I definitely don't believe they were just kind of isolated on one island. You know, I think Plato was just talking about probably an outpost of the Atlantean civilization as a whole that sunk, you know, in his tale there. But, you know, it's interesting going back to the dates though, Kev, right? So you have, was it 9,600, right? And these are all numbers that divide into 3. You were talking about these cycles within cycles, right?
Yeah.
You know, 9 divides into 3, 600 or 6, you know, 6 divides into 3, 12 divides into 3. So when you're talking about a 12,000 year cycle, you know, so there's like cycles within cycles within cycles, because if you just use the division of 3 and all of that, you can pretty much carve out a whole bunch of kind of more, what would you say, minor cycles within a major cycle. So it's interesting how a lot of these dates sort of play out as well, when it comes to this stuff, because then it really does start to suggest that you have major cycles, and then you have kind of like minor cycles that occur within them, and then maybe even more minor cycles that occur within those as well. So
Or maybe like
3,000
localized than planetary, you know?
Yeah, so, you know, maybe you have your larger 12,000 year cycles, but then you cut that in half, and then maybe you have a 6,000 year cycle, right?
Well, that's called the Heinrich cycle. The Heinrich, there's another name attached to it. It's like a double hyphen name. But that's another one that they're kind of, that suspicious observers really hones in on.
Yeah, then you cut 6,000 in half, and then what? You got a 3,000 year cycle, right? So, it makes sense, yeah. And like they say, like D in the chat said, it's like fractals.
Yeah,
you know?
very much. You do the fractal art, you know, you're the fractal dude.
Yeah. It's a very.
You see fractals in nature everywhere, right? And math, it seems to be a pretty universal code. So
golden ratio, you know, the golden ratio.
Dodecahedron.
Yeah, dodecahedron.
yeah.
Seeing if I'm really good at
tetrahedrons, and we're getting into all sorts here. Sacred geometry type woo.
Yeah, chat, you know, talking about Nikola Tesla, 369, you know, that seems to be the key to the universe. And
well, Scott, you asked a question that I rudely forgot to answer about the archaeologists, about if they were, like, what they were, or if there were any at the time of Atlantis.
Yeah,
I've been having the thought, and I had to check myself when you started saying it, because I thought, well, hang on a minute. Sounds like Scott's going to say exactly what I've been thinking here. But I've been kind of thinking about, well, what stories did they tell their children? And what myths? What kind of mythology was out there? And was there ever talk of a mythical land that only a few people, maybe a remnant from another cycle remembered and passed down?
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
So
yeah,
right
yeah.
away,
what was?
I
Go ahead, man.
right away I see this little three-sided, including or four-sided, including the base, but the three of us in a past existence pulling out this little three-sided pyramid that's made out of gold, copper, and silver, and we
On you go,
each
sorry,
grab
man.
our amethyst sphere. We grab our little amethyst sphere and we place it at the top of the little pyramid, and then we touch the sides in a certain sequence, and the amethyst shines up. And then we're all like,
Indiana
"Are you
Jones
there,
turns up."
David? Are you there, David? Are you there, Nisia? And
Telling
are
you,
you
dude,
there,
well,
Scutati?"
I can't remember what I was going to say. Now it's gone. It's gone. It's
Well,
gone.
I was going to say, I was going to say, the Atlantean civilization, what was their Atlantean civilization, right? What was their, were they talking about a lost civilization that once existed as well? And they were speculating on, did this place really exist? And
Well, I'm
did they
thinking,
have
man.
did they have archaeologists out there digging up, areas and finding woo and all of that? And they're just like, whoa, what happened before? And maybe they were speculating on or pondering if there was cycles and lost civilizations before them. And then if that was the case, rinse and repeat for the civilization before them. They probably were doing the same thing,
And those
like
pharaohs,
I said, how many times have we?
those pharaohs built nothing. They found like a little capstone. Telling you, dude. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. But I
And
remember
the
now.
listening audience.
Sorry, before I forget again, Nacy, right? But that same video, the quantum businessman, he brought up something else that it really, really was profound, because on a Freaky Friday here before, do you remember when we went down under, guys, and we were speaking with John? Remember that, Nacy?
Oh yeah.
And he mentioned how, because I'd been in the army this time, and we had the whole story with Donnie and the French and the kind of me being down there in a previous cycle. He says, Kev, you've probably been one of these warriors many times, right? Remember that?
Oh, absolutely. And it's that.
Well, get this, because Chris Anatra said General Patton, right? He believed he'd been here before.
Yes.
And he was a centurion at one point, like a Roman fighter. There was another one, that Napoleon, I think it was, back to that time. And I'm thinking, holy shimoly, man. It's almost as if we've got an archetype, or we have some kind of thing that follows us, man.
Yeah, Patton.
Well, if there's anything to the genetic memory that within your cells, because we, the story goes, our mother and father got together and both of them gave genetic material and it combined, and here we are. And that genetic material came from their father and mother and their father and mother and their father and mother. And who's to say that at one point, when you tap into that cellular memory, all of a sudden you remember, oh my God, I was Tutankhamun, or I was that stable boy that just kept getting his arse kicked every day from the master.
I don't believe people that say they were like these famous ones, like, even though one of them's got to be right? Somebody's got to have been Tutankhamun in a past life. I know I shouldn't discount them all, right?
We all want to be something greater than we are, usually, more times than not, instead of just accepting the miracle that we are right now.
Imagine finding out you were like a fresh cop, or like of the bad dude, that painter dude from Austria around the mid-40s. Imagine that. Whoa. That would know.
Well,
imagine getting
regressed
into that. Whoa. Where have I landed, man? No danger. Know what I mean?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember throwing Christian babies to the lions back during the Roman circus.
Ah,
No, I
you were.
don't. I don't
He
remember
does,
that all,
ladies
but-
and gentlemen. He does. He told us before. But listen, for more of this craziness, and it's going to get even crazier and weirder and stranger from here, because that's how we roll on Freaky Friday. You need to join us right after the break. We're only getting warmed up. And after the break, we'll tell you how you can make it a really long woo-a-thon right here on tfrlive.com. Don't go anywhere.
The womb eaters get into the red.
There we go. There we go. So I'm going to put on our usual tunes, boys. We'll take a couple of minutes. And we'll be right back with you, folks. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Can you handle the woo?
They're coming to get you, Martha. second part of today's show. And we were talking about Atlantis, but more focused on the cycle aspect of things before the break, but very interesting.
Maybe we've made that connection before, but tell you something. Something really pushed me to kind of put that back out there today to add to the woo. I'm telling you, I think suspicious observers added to Dutch synths, added to a lot of historical and archaeological evidence. I think we're in that window of time for major changes. Don't tell me there ain't big changes happening, folks. You cannot tell me that. But we're going to take a look now at something that I know. I just know for the fact I get a feeling in my bones, Scotty. I don't know where it comes from, but I'm thinking Naysay is going to really, really like this, right?
I think so too. Yeah. When you showed me this, before the show, I was like, oh, this is going to be something that I think Naysay is going to really have a lot to say on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We won't leave you in suspense any longer, Naysay, right? But it was a new article came out on phys.org, CDN. It's an actual paper type thing, but it's on phys.org. But it's new evidence supports the idea that America's first civilization was made up of sophisticated engineers. Very colourful mound that we're looking at, or an overhead kind of map here, Nacy, where it's got a lot of concentric circles going on. A lot of them.
Yeah. It looks like a topographic scan or something.
It's the Serpent Mound. Yeah, it's the Serpent Mound. I know Nacy likes that place, but it looks like they're finding a lot more now with new technology, which just adds to. It's like Stonehenge, right? If you give it enough time and better technology, you can see further below the surface. You end up getting bigger and bigger complexes and temples, and in this case, really great engineering. So it says the Native Americans who occupied the area known as Poverty Point, and this only comes from a day ago. It's kind of fresh out. In northern Louisiana, more than 3,000 years ago, long have been believed to be simple hunters and gatherers. But New Washington University in St. Louis, how do you say that? Is it St. Louis?
I say St. Louis. I mean, that's how we say
Is
it.
Is it St. Louis then? There you go.
Yeah.
Because I got to get it correct for you Americans. Like, come on, it's the least I can do, man. Archaeological findings paint a drastically different picture of America's first civilization. Far from the simplicity of life sometimes portrayed in anthropology books, these early indigenous peoples were highly skilled engineers capable of building massive earthen structures in a matter of months, maybe even weeks, that withstood the test of time, the new findings show. We as a research community and population as a whole have undervalued native people and their ability to do this work and to do it quickly in the ways they did, said Tristan R. T.R. Kidder, lead author of the Edward S. and Teddy Mackius Professor of Anthropology in Arts and Sciences. One of the most remarkable things is that these earthworks have held together for more than 3,000 years with no failure or major erosion. By comparison, modern bridges, highways, and dams fail with amazing regularity because building things out of dirt is more complicated than you would think. They really were incredible engineers with sophisticated technical knowledge. And the findings were published in Southeastern Archaeology on September 1st, 2021. Washington University's Kai Su, Seth B. Grooms, along with graduate Edward R. Henry, Colorado State, and Kelly Irvin, USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, also contributed to the paper. The Poverty Point World Heritage Site consists of a massive 72-foot tall earthen mound and concentric half-circle ridges. The structures were constructed by hunter-gatherers approximately 3,400 years ago from nearly 2 million cubic yards of soil. Amazingly, this was done without the luxury of modern tools domestically, or domesticated animals, or even wheeled carts. And I laughed there at the hunter-gatherers because the first half of it tells you they weren't just simple hunter-gatherers, right? According to Kidder, the site was likely an important religious site where Native Americans came to pilgrimage, similar to Mecca. It was abandoned abruptly between 2000 and 2,200 years ago, most likely due to documented flooding in the Mississippi Valley and climate change. So it says the ridges at Poverty Point contain vast amounts of artifacts around the edges and within, suggesting that people lived there. Kidder and the team re-excavated and re-evaluated a site on Ridge West 3 at the Poverty Point site that was originally excavated by renowned archaeologist John Gibson in 1991. And using modern research methods, including carbon dating, microscopic analysis of soils, and magnetic measurements of soil, the research provides conclusive evidence that the earthworks were built rapidly. Essentially, there's no evidence of boundaries or signs of weathering between the various levels, which would have occurred if there was even a brief pause in construction. Kidder believes the construction was complicated or completed in lifts or layers of sediment deposited to increase the ridge height and linear dimensions before another layer was placed to expand the footprint vertically and horizontally. So why does all this matter? Because according to Kidder, the findings challenge previous beliefs about pre-modern hunters and gatherers behaved. Building the enormous mounds and ridges at Poverty Point would have required a large labour pool that was well organised and would have required leadership to excavate. Hunters and gatherers were believed to shun politics. And it says, between the speed of the excavation and the construction and the quantity of the earth moved, this data shows us native people coming to the site and working in concert. This in and of itself is remarkable because hunter-gatherers aren't supposed to be able to do these activities. What's even more impressive than how quickly the people built the earthen structures is the fact that they're still intact. Due to the proximity of the Gulf of Mexico, this area receives immense amounts of rain that makes earthworks especially prone to erosion. Microscopic analysis of soil shows that the Native American mixed different types of soil, clay, silt, and sand, in a calculated recipe to make the structures stronger. And similar to Roman concrete or rammed earth in China, Native Americans discovered sophisticated ways of mixing different types of materials to make them virtually indestructible, despite not being compacted. There's some magic there that our modern engineers have not been able to figure out yet. Can I take my hat off and doff it to your ancestors there, and they say, what have you been telling us, dude? Definitely not hunter-gatherers, right?
Well, this is the challenge of my own hubris or ego as an Anishinaabe, because I remember when I first learned about the Mishomis book, where in it the elder Eddie Benton Benet talked about our label, Anishinaabe. And as I progressed in the truth search and started learning about these ancient civilizations and learned about the Anunnaki, then all of a sudden a light bulb went on when you think of it syllabically, Anishinaabe, Anunnaki, and Eddie Benton Benet said that Anishinaabe means when the spirit was lowered to the earth, Aki. And then when you look at the etymology of Anunnaki, it states when the man was lowered to the earth. And then as I learned more and more about my people, and you learn about they were considered the giants because the men were over 7 feet tall and the women were over 6 feet tall. And then you learn about the Iroquois Confederacy, where they got together with other tribes and said, hey, if the Anishinaabe flex their muscle and try to take more territory, we shall band together to hold them back. And then when you look at the territory of the Anishinaabe, they were 1/3 of North America and had dominancy to the Mississippi River and all the way down to the Gulf. And then you start learning that my people were trading with the Phoenicians because the Phoenicians came up the Mississippi River to get our copper, and that we smelted copper. So as I'm going to university to learn all of the book smart natives, or to be a good little Indian, and I like to call it ingenuity and not ingenuity. But
I like it. I like it.
But then you start finding out that there's remains of these towns or cities or metropolitan areas that had well over 70,000 people living in them. And then as you learn more and more about the serpent mound or the snake mound, and you find out the incredible aspects of it, to me, it's a no-brainer. But then the question is why? Why would it be in the best interest of the newfound America that we are considered hunter-gatherers? To me, the simplicity of it is that, to come in and wipe out a whole people that were way beyond, what was considered simpletons, I guess, for lack of a better term, that's a hard pill to swallow. It is what it was. Yeah. And one of my favorite books is by Jeffrey Goodman, and it's called America BC. And his theory was when there was a Pangea, that the United States was in the center of Pangea, and it's where it all originally started, was in the center of America. And, maybe like we're talking about with Atlantis, civilizations rise and civilizations fall. And, little groups of people survived it, and they just had to restart. And hopefully before we go through this next critical crisis or cycle, that we get it collectively together. And maybe our ancestors from beyond the stars will say, hey, yeah, let's help them get through this little shake, rattle, and roll, and try to, dimmer it down a little bit so they don't have to reset. But I don't know. I speculate with what we've done to this planet. If Mother Earth hasn't dropped our drawers and given us a spanking like we should have received, then I guess Daddy's going to come home and going to be pissed off.
I don't know, man. With all that's been going on with the weather lately, and the earth change activity and the earthquakes and the tornadoes in New Jersey and flooding in New York and wildfires in California and volcanoes going off and all of that stuff. I don't know. I would say Mother Nature is giving us a little bit of a paddling right now. But yeah, you're right, Naysay. Daddy hasn't come home yet, so the real fireworks have yet to the real fireworks show has yet to begin. But going back to these mounds and stuff, and hey, shout out to phys.org. Some actually like quote unquote a mainstream science publication, and mainstream scientists out here actually coming out and saying, hey, they knew a lot more back then than what we've kind of been told or what we've been taught. Their engineering skills were highly advanced and very sophisticated, and they were talking about like the soil compounds and how they were basically kind of creating their own mix, right? And they were comparing it, to kind of like Roman concrete and things like that. These are a lot of the sort of engineering and technological sort of stuff that has been forgotten and that we're just now starting to rediscover, I guess you could say, right? It also makes me think of a lot of the stuff that like Christopher Everard talked about with the pyramids, right? And a lot of these sites in Egypt, how people were like, oh, they chiseled that into stone. And there's a lot of evidence out there showing that was a very specialized form of concrete that they were molding this stuff, and they had some kind of a method to make a lot of this stuff malleable and pliable, and then it hardened into stone, and that a lot of the hieroglyphs and stuff are actually like pressed reliefs, that were probably carved in wood first and then just pressed up against the wall like a printer almost, and just it pressed in, so
like a stone magnafish.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, like they're just like kind of
or
like
microfish.
stamping.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're just like stamping their hieroglyphs into the stone to make it much more efficient, and faster. So I think that there's a lot of forgotten knowledge and a lot of forgotten engineering and stuff that just was lost over time, whether it be because of the cataclysm and maybe this past civilization, a lot of this stuff just didn't survive, and maybe it did, maybe that's what a lot of this occulted knowledge is, Kev, that we're not told, you know what I mean, that a lot of the elites and whatnot maybe have the knowledge of, and they just don't want to let us know. And going to Naysay's point of, why would they want to make everybody believe that they're just hunter-gatherers, well, it's because they don't want people to learn that knowledge. They want to occult that knowledge for themselves, and then just let everybody believe that, the ancient Egyptians just chiseled this stuff with crude tools and chicken bones, or that the indigenous people of the Americas were just savage hunter-gatherers who chiseled things with rocks and dug holes in the dirt, and no, that's not the case. We're talking about a very, very sophisticated civilization, whether it be the indigenous people here in the Americas, or the indigenous people in Australia, or the indigenous or the civilization that once inhabited Egypt. There was something going on much greater than what we've been taught. So
my biggest question, though, is will it be able to stand up in court when the Anishinaabe ask for their land back?
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know how that's gonna roll, dude.
I'm pretty sure the powers that shouldn't be are not going to be very keen on handing back that massive amount, that chunk of land. I don't even think it would be like the French asking for the Louisiana Purchase back. I don't.
I'm sorry to be off topic, but
okay.
I'd like to ask you two gentlemen. I keep getting this really weird noise in my headset where it sounds like a slurping through a straw, but electric. It sounds more like metallic or electrical. Are either of you two hearing that?
No,
Mm-mm.
definitely not.
Okay.
You might
Well,
be.
could be one of these shows.
It's one of the brain suckers. It's coming for you. And they say the brain sucker's got his straw out and he's ready to go, man.
Go watch
Very
those brain suckers, dude.
But
Starship Troopers, those one slug things when they shove that spike into the guy's head and just slurped out.
Polly in the chat said, "The metal straw, run!"
Telling you, man, go watch those metal straws and slurping. It's usually me that's getting triggered by slurping, ain't that right, Nacy? Usually.
I've learned my lesson.
Maybe this is karma coming back to bite you, Nacy.
That's what it is, dude. It's the disco karma. It's followed you over here. Because we've linked up the Restream chat to Disco, we've got it to Twitch, we've got it to YouTube. The only thing we can't get in there is the TFR one, unfortunately. But I'm in the TFR chat. If you want to head on over there, it's tfrlive.com/chat. And before we get into our next topic, remember, not the 5th of November, although it's not that far away, right? But coming up right after today's Freaky Friday, more woo. Lots more woo. We'll tell you about that after the break. Because before we go to the break, I'm going old school. And I think it ties in with all of what we're talking about slightly. If I really stretch it, you know, but I'm not like that. But it's old school.
It's freaky.
Well,
it's freaky.
You know
We're
why?
the masters
You know why?
of
You know why I think it does connect. Here's why I think it does connect. Because usually when we talked about this topic in the past, we would sail on off to Speculation Island and we would try and game it out, right? What's it all about? And before 2012, a lot of people thought, oh boy, this is all about the big changes coming in 2012 and stuff like that, right? So, cycles, ages, changing, all that kind of stuff. Atlantis, rising, falling, all that good jazz. Well. And there's a thing, right? Atlantis falls into the sea, rises out the sea. Maybe Atlantis was already built from a previous cycle. And those people found it. But anywho, right? We're back to my old school story, and I think you're going to like this one as well, Nacy. Remember the Chinese ghost cities? Oh, they were all the rage at one point, right? All the rage.
How can I forget? We went we went full ghost city, Chinese ghost city. Quite a few freaky
full ghost city. We could write a song about that. I think. We went ghost city and rock and roll. Anywho, right? For my tone deaf singing ruins the entire show, or at least this segment. The ghost cities are back in the news. That's why I bring it up. Only not quite so ghostly anymore because Bloomberg is reporting that China's ghost cities are finally stirring to life after years of empty streets. And this was one of the weirdest ones ever because you're literally talking big, huge, sprawling cities and there was like tumbleweed blowing through them. Weird. But it says here, I'm not going to read all of this. Conjured out of nothing and lived in by seemingly no one, China's so-called ghost cities became the subject of Western media fascination a decade ago. At what point do we have to give this up, by the way? We've been doing this far too long, they say, Scott. Photos of these huge urban developments went viral online, presenting scenes of a compelling weirdness. Empty apartment towers stranded in a sea of mud, broad boulevards devoid of cars or people, and over-the-top architectural showpieces with no apparent function. In places called ghost cities, you find massive, ambitious urbanizing projects that spark investment but don't draw population all at once, said Max Woodworth, an associate professor of geography at Ohio State University, who's written extensively on the topic. Now, the result is a landscape that appears very city-like, but without much action in it. China was under-urbanized for many years, Woodworth says, and has raced to correct that. But the pace of building often outstrips the rate at which newcomers move in, even with investors snapping up apartments as Chinese home prices rise. As the economy continues to shift shift away from agriculture, urbanization, and construction have become twin catalysts of China's unparalleled growth. In 1978, just 18% of its population lived in cities, and we're about to go to the break. But we'll get the guys' thoughts on the other side of they're starting to see people going into the ghost cities. So remember, we'll be back. Hour 1 is now gone in the blink of an eye, really quickly. And we are on for 2 more hours. And after the break, we'll tell you how you can make it 4 more hours of woo. In fact, I insist you make it 4 more hours. We'll be right back. Now, that doesn't mean to say, you YouTube and Twitch viewers out there, that me, Scott, and Nacy are going for 4 more hours, but you get me. So I will do our usual now. We'll go for a little break, boys. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Does it sound good, man? Sound good to you, Nacy?
Oh, absolutely.
YouTube.
I'll slurp my coffee
Nice.
in the silence.
131 out there in YouTube. Wow. So we'll pull up the chat here. I can see Ben, John, Bernice, Geraldine, Wanda, Tessa. Good to see all of you. Let me get in there further.
Every time you put the music over, I just want to start singing.
Yes, indeed, we are back, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
Did that
That
get
was,
you, dude? Now listen. As we came back from the break there, did you hear a metallic slurping sound? I did.
No.
The same, like the kind of sound that Nace said he heard.
Oh no! So I haven't heard it yet. Does that mean I'm next? Is this thing like targeting us? Like it targeted Naysay first, then it targeted you, and
Either that or Nace's got to be at it, right? Because he knows, like he triggered me one time on Discord slurping, right? But it was his room. It's like he's got his own room where we talk over there. So it was Nace's house, literally, his digital house, and he can slurp if he wants to. Nace, are you winding us up? That would be a far more comfortable answer for me right now.
So I unmute, and I was going to say I really like that last bit of music that you just started playing before we came back.
And then it was in the middle of that, wasn't it?
Yes, and then my speaker started going crazy static, and the volume is all the way down.
That
and I
might
had to
be what I've heard.
But I had to shut the speaker off because it got so loud. I'm going to do a quick little click again and see if it stopped.
Oh, that's it.
No, it's still going.
Yeah.
interesting.
That's weird.
Well, there's a lot of CME activity, a lot of solar activity. I think ZX mentioned it earlier in the chat as well. But I've been paying attention to suspicious observers as well, and there's a lot going on with the sun right now. So I mean, we're being bombarded with charged particles, and I think electronics are going to be experiencing a lot of weirdness. And speaking of which, I mean, I've got to attest to this. My little brother, the motherboard died on his computer last week.
Wait, guys, how much problems have I been having with my PC? Like weirdness, like not good, man, not good. And
Yeah,
no,
I
folks,
think-
I'm not saying that it's the men in black out the back hanging about trying to. I'm not saying that. Weird, techie, glitchy, kind of like
Yeah, I'm going through the same thing. Yesterday, I got my shower yesterday. We're in the bathroom. All of a sudden, my Bluetooth speaker starts playing an audiobook that I shut off yesterday morning. And for some reason, my phone just started playing it, and it started playing over my Bluetooth speaker. And I asked the gal who was helping me, I'm like, I felt bad because I told her to hush. And she's like, what? And I'm like, do you hear that? Because it sounded like somebody talking outside of the bathroom. And sure enough, we hear talking. And then I recognize the voice from my audiobook. And I'm just like, you hear that, right? And for whatever reason, it just turned on and started playing.
Interesting, very interesting. And ZX just had all PC problems this week, and that's all I've been dealing with. I was like, wait, hold on a second.
it was me.
Are you having a laugh?
The metal slurping, no, not me, but I had to put a laugh in there because when I start to get a bit too kind of weirded and freaked out, default coping mechanism, have a laugh. So we will continue to monitor our technical glitches.
Yeah, like I said, motherboard went out. We had to order another one. Basically, do the old brain transplant and take the CPU out of the old one, pop it in the new one, all that good stuff.
Somebody says that Mercury retrograde again. Don't add that to all the sun activity. That's the last thing we need.
Yeah, we don't need that in conjunction with anything. But then it's weird because I just saw here very recently a video posted on YouTube by a very popular channel called Veritasium.
Oh,
and
I
it was
love that channel, man.
Yeah, I do too. I think it was titled something like "The Universe hates your computer, why it wants to flip your bits" or something like that. So there's I don't know.
Partial
Maybe
to my bits been flipped, but not in a technical kind of way. But listen, how about we throw in got the perfect story? You're both going to love this one as well, and it ties in, right? And they say he's going to be, again, he'll be salivating over there at this stuff. Ticks so many of his boxes. And you mentioned the Anunnaki and things earlier on, they say, right? And that, obviously, if you started playing word association, you'd end up getting to your favourite Planet X, wouldn't you? Well, let's go over here and see what we've got. And a big shout out to Ron for sending me this one. If Planet 9 is lurking in our solar system, we finally know what it is. Remember that whole theoretical planet they were talking about? Remember that? Remember Carl Battingen and Mike Brown, him that killed off Pluto? And if Pluto was still a planet, this would literally be Planet 10, Planet X. But it says it can run, but it can't hide. I'll condense it down for you a bit because it comes out on a recent study shared on a preprint. Okay, and I'll open that up. The orbit of Planet 9. It says the existence of a giant planet beyond Neptune, referred to as Planet 9, has been inferred from the clustering of longitudinal and perihelial and pole position. Right, it gets into all the scientific kind of stuff. It says a suite of numerical simulations show that the orbit distribution of the distant KBO is strongly influenced by the mass and orbital elements of Planet 9, and thus can be used to infer these parameters. And it goes on to talk about it. And over here, it says, I don't want to read all of it out, but it says, all evidence of Planet 9 stems from the gravitational pull that we've kind of read from before. It mentions the whole KBAs in there. It says, instead of standard random motion, astronomers are observing clustered KBO orbits. And while this could be a fluke, it's also a highly unlikely one. It says, in 2016, researchers analysed the statistical distribution of KBOs. What is a Kuiper Belt object, sorry, and announced that the unusual clustering behaviour was due to an undetected outer planet. They even calculated its mass to be that of 5 Earths and roughly 10 times Neptune's distance from the Sun. The older study also specified which region of the sky the planet was likely hiding, but widespread searches found no Planet 9, which led some to suspect it doesn't exist. The new study looks at the initial 2016 work and considers some of the criticism on the posted 9th body. So it says one of these issues in locating a planetary body in the outer solar system lies in the inherent difficulty of locating anything out there. This forces astronomers to look wherever is convenient, which means the clustered Kuiper Belt objects, KBOs, might be the results of biased data. The recent study authors account for this observational bias and concluded that the clustering bodies still constitute an unusual phenomenon, with only 0.4% chance of happening without a nearby body with significant mass, like a planet. But more crucially, the study authors further localized the mysterious object when they repeated their calculations of Planet 9's likely orbit, which places it closer to the Sun than we thought.
No.
If Planet 9 is real. Now, this is why I'm saying, at the start of the article, right, I was kind of like wishy-washy. I was going to just say, look, this doesn't really say that they found it. Because it says, if Planet 9 is real, astronomers should detect it very soon. But with many astronomers still more skeptical than not about it, some of who even suspected it of being a primordial black hole, the coming years will likely see it either ruled out as a possible explanation for the Kuiper Belt object clustering, or reveal world historical data about a new 9th planet. Time will tell what the final verdict of Planet 9 will be. So in reality, they've not really discovered it. They just narrowed down the possibilities of it definitely being out there by the sounds of it. So the headline, very clickbaity, but if they've narrowed it down to a bit of the Kuiper Belt, maybe then they can kind of look closer. I don't know, but NASA, Planet X, Scotty, Nibiru, closer to the sun than we thought. Oh, I can feel NASA getting ready there to just unload, man.
So I am on the precipice of starting my equinox fast with the new moon on Monday. And as I'm calculating the equinox, I'm getting very disturbed because now, instead of just plotting it where I am in Moorhead, Minnesota, I've been going around the world and looking at it from that aspect. I've been having our friend Luna down there in Australia. I'm having them down there pay a little more attention to sunrise and sunset because they're just about to go into their summer. And then I've been using Singapore because Singapore is right there on the equatorial plane. And I've been using Glasgow, your area too, Kev.
Nice.
And trying to calculate it. And the northern hemisphere is off by, I would say, 15 degrees, between 11 and 15 degrees, whereas Singapore is on the precipice of their equinox, and so is Australia. And so it's like, why is the northern hemisphere so off? Well, my speculation is that there has been another major shift in the tilt of the entire planet.
Okay, listen. I'm going to add to this, okay? Because I've had to have another look at this, right? And I ain't no astronomer. But I think it's worth reading out the paper again, even just that abstract part, right? Because I've just been kind of browsing over it. And it's definitely relevant. And they say you're going to explode in a minute. By the end of this, they say it's going to explode, right? Because if we come over here, this is, remember, not published yet, right? Preprint. I'm starting to sound like Mad McCairn. At least he knows what he's talking about. I admit I don't know what I'm talking about, but folks, this is pretty plain when you actually read it and think about it. Cornell University, 22nd of August, 21. Mike Brown, Konstantin Batygin, that's the two cats that were on. They were the first ones to start talking about it, right? So, blow it up a bit here. The existence of a giant planet beyond Neptune, referred to as Planet 9, has been inferred from the clustering of longitude and perihelion and pole position of distant eccentric Kuiper Belt objects. Now, after updating calculations of observational biases, we find that the clustering remains significant at 99.6% confidence level. We thus use these observations to determine orbital elements of P9, Planet 9. A suite of numerical simulations show that the orbital distribution of the distant KBOs is strongly influenced by the mass and orbital elements of Planet 9, and thus can be used to infer these parameters. Now, combining the biases with the numerical simulations, we calculate likelihood values for a discrete set of P9 parameters, which we then use as an input into a Gaussian process emulator that allows a likelihood computation for arbitrary values of all parameters. Now, I know it's sounding really sciencey, but we're getting to where I'm going here, folks, right? We use the emulator.
Basically.
Well, no, we need to finish it, Scott. We need to, right?
Okay,
because it builds to crescendo, dude. I'm trying to try to slowly reveal it so I don't give away the punchline just yet. So using samples of orbital elements and estimates of the radius and albedo of such a planet, we calculate the probability distribution function of the on-sky position of Planet 9 and of its brightness. For many reasonable assumptions, Planet 9 is closer and brighter than initially expected, though its probability distribution includes a long tail to larger distances, and uncertainties in the radius and albedo of Planet 9 could yield fainter objects. It includes a long tail? Nacy, you're often... Nacy, you often talk about these kind of, how it look winged with a kind of tail coming off it. Do you know? Is that not something you've said to us before?
The return of the red dragon.
Oh my goodness. Now listen. Now, I interrupted you before, Nacy, but I have to apologise to the audience as well, because I kind of wrote that off when I'd first looked at it today. Because I kind of looked at the article first and just kind of seen the science, seen a load of numbers and things that, well, didn't make sense to me, right? But how significant is that when you think about it? And ties in with what Nacy talks about, the whole appearance of it. Things on the sun starting to act wonky. I'm going full black pill, Nacy, Scott. I'm going for it, man. Going for it.
Have I converted you yet, gentlemen?
I mean, this definitely makes it a compelling argument. Let's just say, it's look. I mean, I totally believe that there is definitely something in a very crazy orbit that re-enters the solar system. You know, comes back in on that close part of the.
Oh, I even missed a bit. Hang on, I even missed a bit. We use the emulator in a Markov, and I'll put it on the screen so people can see I'm not just making this up. We used an emulator in a Markov chain Monte Carlo. And remember, I started scrolling the screen. I must have jumped a bit. Analysis, to find Ple 9. We find a mass of 6.2, and then something plus or minus 2 or 1. Earth masses. Semi-major axis of 380 plus 140 or minus 80 either side. And that's astronomical units. So that's Earth distances from the sun. And an inclination of 16 plus 5% and perihelion of, or perihelion of 300 plus 85 or minus 60 AU. So they've basically worked out the inclination and the perihelion of it. They really are zooming in on where this is coming from.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you're reading the article, that they crunched the numbers they probably dumped it in a supercomputer or something.
That Monte Carlo, because that's, remember the guy at CERN, and he had the whole CERN 0 Bond, or was it Bond 0 CERN 1 or something? Yeah. And that's when Anthony Patch was going on about this Monte Carlo mathematical analytics that they do with the quantum computers and things for the Mandela effects and stuff. So that's definitely like advanced math.
Yeah, they plugged those numbers in, and this computer, if they were using the quantum computer or a supercomputer of some kind,
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it was able to crunch the data and zero in on a, it was pretty confident on the location of where this thing is located. And yeah, I think this thing is a pretty massive object. And I mean, what is it? Is it a red dwarf? Is it like a failed star? Have we been looking in the wrong spot? Is it actually visible and we just haven't really been able to see it yet? I don't know, but from what it sounds like, I mean, this thing is swinging back in, right? Whatever this cycle is of this orbital cycle of it, takes it way far out away from the solar system, and then eventually over time it swings back in. And
Well, they've actually, I mean, they've found objects in the Kuiper Belt that are clustered in just the way that they would expect for a
Well, yeah, this
planet
thing
just
is-
the size that would do that. So that means if you find that cluster and you go that distance out from the sun, are they going
Yeah,
to see it soon?
this
Is that
thing
what
is-
that James Webb's going up for? The telescope?
this thing is grabbing Kuiper Belt objects and pulling it. Its gravitational pull is causing them to cluster together. Right. That's how they were able to go. Oh, well, there's something out there, because Kuiper Belt objects like that generally just sort of float around and drift around, and they don't just congeal together unless something actually pulls them together. So there's definitely, this object is out there, this Planet 9 or whatever you want to call it. Some people say
Winged dragon. I like that one.
it's Nibiru or whatever, Planet X. But
That's just what
so
we
they-
need, right? After everything we've been through, a rogue planet, maybe the binary to our sun turning up. Oh, nice.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, just add it to the 2022 bingo list. It's okay.
Because hey, look, our star is actually the exception to the norm that you see in the universe. Most stars are in a binary setup, a binary system. Most stars have a sister star, if you will, or whatever, that they rotate around, and one star is usually much dimmer and weaker than the other star, but they're a binary system. But our star, our sun, is sort of the exception to the rule, or this, it's in the minority of this. So if this object is like a red dwarf or something like that, you're right, Kev. Maybe this is our binary sister or whatever coming back
ZX in
in.
the chat. ZX in the chat. I've seen the binary coming in from him. Credit where it's due, ZX. But Nacy, we're going to unleash you, man. You've got 4 minutes till break. Go for it, dude.
So as I try to speculate on what is happening, I am no longer being surprised with what people are coming back to me. I've been asking people about paying attention to the sun, and more people are, especially people my age. I survived 54 winters, and they're saying that the sun no longer looks yellow, that it's starting to look more white.
Oh, definitely, dude. Definitely more silver, white. Yep.
Yep, I can vouch for that. It doesn't have that. Yeah, go ahead,
Scotty. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, it just doesn't have that deep yellow or orangish glow like it now. It's just more of like a flat white kind of.
Oh, please, 2 sugars. Flat white? All right, I thought you were going to make coffee, man. Sorry.
And then when we think about these extraterrestrial objects, if we concept that basic principle of electromagnetic, where it has static discharge, it's going to have the push-pull effect of magnetism. If the Earth gets shifted even minimally, this is going to cause major ocean currents to change, major wind patterns to change, and that's going to cause major weather change. And my speculation is that the powers that should not be know of these cycles, because it doesn't make any sense to me to witness these people of such powers doing the things that they're doing to the planet with no regards to the planet, unless they have an exit plan. And, do you think any of us are going to be part of that exit plan?
Yes.
Yes,
we're going to take the 3 of us. They insist on Freaky Friday. They do. I'm on the hotline, man.
Well, I'm going to be held to that NDA you had to sign, Kev. So
Yeah.
But is it going to be the winged dragon? Is it going to be
As long as
Quetzalcoatl?
it's not the Red Dragon Ambassador, we'll be all right.
Or is it going to be the Thunderbird stones are going to be coming back again?
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I just try to
either.
recognize the patterns and share. And as you say many times, Kev, we'll provide. You decide, because we're all in it together.
And again, I'm going to steal from ZX. You add into that the whole galactic current sheet where you've got the kind of stars closest to us are reacting. They're flaring. They're giving off micronovas. Are we getting ready to do that? Because if our sun flared, it would pop out big wings and probably a tail. Oh, who knew? Maybe that's the winged dragon. We will be right back. Don't be anywhere. Yeah, it could be our own sun that goes full dragon mode. You know why I say that? It's because of one of the simulations, and it was obviously an artistic graphical simulation on one of Suspicious Observer's videos. And it shows the sun flashing in a micronova, and you could see at the very kind of sides of it flaring.
Like, we talk about these cycles, but if you want to compare them in a way to, say, a frequency wave or something, right? Like, how do you get an amplified standing wave, right? You fire two frequencies and get them in phase with each other, right? So what if these cycles end up falling into a phase, right? Where some of these minor cycles obviously are going to fall into phase with these major cycles. And so do you get these events where the cycle is like amplified big time, right? Where, like, so if you have like a 3,000 year cycle or a 6,000 year cycle, those are going to fall on a 12,000 year cycle as well. So, or like the 12,000 year cycles, kind of like the amplified, like a standing wave version of a cycle. I don't know. It's crazy. And isn't the supposed cycle of Nibiru, wasn't it like 3,600 years? Was that the...
That was one of the speculations. Kev,
And if that's the case... Oh, go ahead, man.
Sorry, my mobile device, I started the show at 100%, and it just gave me a warning it's going to die.
Wow.
And so I'm going to jump on my cannabis res. You want to give me 2 minutes and then call me on that one?
I will do, bro. I will do. I'll hang up on you.
All right, be back to it.
There we go. There we go.
So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. So if yeah, because I've heard that number thrown out there, a 3,600 year cycle for Nibiru or whatever. But then let's go back to what we were just talking about earlier, Kev. Atlantis, 3,600 years ago.
Hey.
That number kind of popped up again. So what if this body swung through the solar system when Atlantis was at its peak?
We almost came to come back. Look at this just real slowly. Here's the sun exploding. Pretty cool, isn't it?
The dragon.
The dragon. I know, that's really poor. It's not the one I was thinking of. It's not the video I was thinking of. But I tell you what. Looks like a big fire-breathing dragon coming from the sky, boy, doesn't it?
It'd be a very bad day if you saw that in the sky.
Oh! Horrendous. Here we go. Welcome back, all of you woo seekers. Second half of today's Freaky Friday already. Halfway through. Revelation after revelation, or revolution after revolution. Not the kind of angry ones on the streets. No. More a harmonic, a 369. One of the most important numbers in the universe. Wasn't that what Tesla said, right? And of course, we've got this ZX again, one of our very regular viewers and a big part of the Discord community. He runs our Discord, basically, man. Without him, there would be no Discord. He touched on the 3,600-year cycle. You know, suns flashing, all these things. There's a 3 in there, 3,000, like you said, Scott. Is there one of those? You know, 369.
Yeah. I think the 3,000-year cycles are the minor cycles, and then the 6,000-year cycles are kind of the more mid-range, like if things get a little bit crazier, and then it's like the 12,000-year cycles.
Question for you, dude. Question for you. It's from the chat room.
Okay.
ZX says, Scotty, what destroyed the superplanet Tiamat, which is now the asteroid belt?
Tiamat, well, at least my speculation, at least my theory, and I've heard this from other people as well, and I tend to kind of lean on it, is Tiamat collided with what is now Earth and knocked us into our orbit. That's what gave us our salt water. Tiamat was a glistening, shimmering planet. It was an ocean world, and it had collided, was destroyed, and probably threw us into our current orbit. At least that's what I kind of think. I don't know.
Well, for today on Freaky Friday, you are the authority. Me and they say we declare you authority. You can say you go for it, man. You are now our Tiamat guy.
Well, like I said, I don't know. All I know is that Tiamat was destroyed. Tiamat was destroyed, and it was a water planet. You know, from all descriptions of what it was, you know, because you got to think, man, if you had just a gigantic ball of water or something covered in water, can you imagine how reflective that would be with the sun reflecting off of that? It would be a glistening, shimmering planet. And so, I don't know, maybe, you know, it collided with another planet and created what we now know as Earth. I don't know. And obviously something, you know, it was, there was a planet that created the asteroid belt. That was a planet that blew up, or, well, you know, was destroyed and just fractured into, you know, billions of pieces, and is now lying between.
It might have been the result of an ancient Star Wars Death Star blowing up.
Who knows, man? And then we got to, you know, factor in.
Well, you know, you guys were talking.
Hey, here, let me throw this out there. We got to factor Mars into the situation. And let me throw this out there. What if Mars was once what was known as Earth, right? So it would make a lot more sense. Okay, if you want to think about Tiamat in the terms of it being the asteroid belt, right? Like Tiamat was destroyed. Well, what is the asteroid belt closest to? Well, it's closer to Mars than it is Earth, because the asteroid belt lies between Mars and Jupiter. So if there was a collision, or if there was some kind of a, you know, maybe Tiamat collided with Mars for all we know. And Earth was just simply the backup planet to escape to, right? You know, if we want to, because, you know, once again, I think that we may have originated from Mars, or there was definitely activity on Mars that decided to inhabit Earth, let's just say. And what caused Mars to become a desolate planet? What was the cataclysm that occurred on Mars that ended up stripping its atmosphere and causing its oceans to boil off? Maybe that's what gave Mars its water at its time. Maybe Tiamat collided with Mars and gave Mars its oceans and whatnot. I don't know, man. I don't know. But I definitely think there's something to the Tiamat thing.
Captain, my captain, I think we just ran adrift to Speculation Island.
It's where we all long to be. Oh, love that, man. I was sitting back closing my eyes, Scotty. That was awesome, dude. What to think about there, man.
If I can add to what Scotty just shared.
Absolutely, man.
So if we think of Richard Hoagland and his face on Mars, and then we look to the east of the face and you find Cydonia, and then we think of the pyramid structures and it's missing its capstone. As I have speculated prior, my belief that on every planet there is a biosphere that has been created so that we as humans can survive, because the Earth is a specific way so the human body will survive. It will not survive on any other planet unless the same conditions as the Earth are there. So Egypt and its pyramid, when the capstone is on the pyramid, it creates a sphere around the area to where those that once were on Mars had to escape Mars because of the destruction of whatever planet it was called between Jupiter and Mars. They needed to create a biosphere so those entities could survive. And they built the pyramids and they put the capstones on. So when it was all activated, it generated a dome, and they were living underneath the dome because that was their created biosphere.
Or what if Tiamat didn't even collide with Mars? It blew up in some other way, but Mars was destroyed by the meteors and the fragments.
Fifth element.
No, the reptilians, man. Come on,
Big
we've got to
bada
have
boom.
reptilians and battleships in here at some point. Come on.
Big bada boom.
I ain't even joking. A lot of people,
I get it.
A lot of people have that past life memory of this planet being owned by other beings, other species, it being fought over, and I'm very open to that type of information too. So you've got all of these different things going on, from the planetary type disasters that you're talking about here to even other entities, as NASA calls them, interfering, maybe terraforming. Who knows? Who honestly knows what's going on?
Remember the
before
book
all
you
these
just read,
cycles
Kev?
that we talk about,
The book you just read about Inside the Mountain.
Yep.
If the entities from the planet had to exit stage right immediately because they were in a war with some other entity, and they had to come and hide on the planet Earth because they're running from the reptilians.
Yep.
And they weren't just globs of things.
I reckon the spaceship's right under Skinwalker Ranch, and it's going to
under the Serpent Mound.
There you go, man.
Let's take the woo even further.
Hang on. We've lost sight of Speculation Island. We're going for new land. We're actually looking. We've gone full Viking, man. We've decided. You know what? We're just going to keep going. Where are we going to find, man? Where are we going to find?
Our Speculation Island. This is no longer the search for Speculation Island. We're in the rocket ship, man. We're looking for Speculation.
No, we're in the drift.
Planet.
On the map, it just says the drift.
We open
The
the
dr-
portal on Speculation Island.
We
and now
may
we're
have.
going
I don't
beyond.
know. We've gone that far. We don't know. There's like it's uncharted territory here.
If there was some kind of a battle, let's just say a war, if you will, between interplanetary species and it was popping off on Mars and Mars was being destroyed and people were fleeing Mars, then you would think that probably they would be a lot of their enemies in pursuit as well, and that war would spill over onto where they were trying to escape to.
I'm liking it, man.
Now, is this war that spilled over from Mars onto Earth, is this what is being described in the Mahabharata, Kev? The chariots flying through the skies, the energy weapons
I'm
being
gonna have a
used.
woogasm if you keep this up, man. Dear Lord. Oh wow.
You know,
Give me a
Grab-
Mothman.
don't
Give me
forget
a
your towel.
Mothman and we've got this set. I'm telling you. Oh wow, boys, this is good.
Or what if the winged dragon coming back
It's the Mothman.
is that they detected that fringe they detected the fringe entities that ran away are here on Earth and they're coming to check it.
Oh,
Let me-
Lou
let me-
Elizondo tried to warn us. Lou Elizondo, I forgive him. He's trying to warn us. I joke.
let me throw this out there while I'm on a roll, right? So
Hold on tight,
Pun
folks. Hold on
intended.
tight. We're engage.
Keep all phalanges in the cart while the ride is in motion.
So the war spills over from Mars, comes to Earth, right? You know, this is what's described in the Mahabharata, and maybe even, Kev, you know, crystalline ships that may be crashing in Australia. I'll throw that out there as well. But you know, maybe as this is happening, you know, these people escaping and coming to the planet, come into contact with the existing hominid species that is currently inhabiting our lovely blue marble here, and they tell them, hey, things are about to get really, really bad here on the surface because you know, this whole intergalactic war and all. Maybe you guys need to go underground for a little while until things kind of cool down a little bit.
Boys, I'm telling you right now, head for Scotland. We've got tunnels over here. We've got tunnels. We've got our own set of tunnels. Get over here, man. We can go all the way to Turkey, to Göbekli Tepe, and another remnant of one of these civilizations that are probably the offshoot of some scientific shenanigans that went back in the... And we talk about 2012 and our Gregorian calendar. Where does that fit into a galactic? What's the star date, dude?
Well, yeah, see, our Gregorian calendar,
Very localized, very specific to us, right?
Yeah, it's a very localized sort of yeah, you know.
Can you
it's
can you imagine that? Just think about this, though, right? Real world, guys. We talk about contact and aliens and things like that. Imagine the profound effect that would have on some people when we get this like exchange of knowledge and we find out our place, and even just maybe if it's just even localized to this part of the Milky Way or whatever. That could be mind bending. It's gonna shatter a lot of paradigms for a lot of people, you know.
When we
Order 66.
When Big Karelen gets off, Big Karelen comes off the old ship with the horns on, and Childhood End, we're into that mode, and
whenever we finally learn that our arrogant species, who thinks that we know everything and that that we're the supreme intelligence of everything, when we finally learn that we are just an insignificant absolute nothing in the grand scheme of the universe, you know, when it comes to the actual power structure of what's going on out there. You know, you have probably some, like, what, 700 million year old civilization that's just been chilling out
we're
there
like a
looking
culture in a space lab.
You are part of a rebel alliance and a traitor to the Galactic Empire. Tear the ship apart, find its ambassador. I want them alive.
I'm not having one more ambassador on the show. If anyone turns up saying they're the ambassador for the reptilians or the Palladians, I'm not doing it. Not doing it.
So how about this? How about as Planet 9 gets closer, right? It starts inching closer. It starts inching closer and inching closer. Our good friends, the Anunnaki or whatever, they decide, okay, it's time to come back again and tell them to go underground because it's about to get wild again. We gotta do this rodeo one more time, you know. So
and it was mining gold for the rest of our lives. I knew it. I knew it was coming.
How do you think people would react if just one day, you know, boom, they just came down and they're like, hey,
how many people do you think wouldn't believe it? Even when they were here, like once they get here, Scott, how many people would say, no, that's fake?
I bet a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah. How many people you think would be like, blue beam? It's blue beam. You know, or just, you know, the
crisis aliens.
The crisis aliens. Yeah, but because you have the everything is fake crowd now, right? Which everything to them is fake or a hoax or whatever. Yep. So if an alien was to land and stand face to face with them, they'd be like, "You're a crisis actor."
There would be face-sucking insectoids going down the street, munching people, they say. And right up until the moment they got munched, they would still say, not believing it.
We are sorry to inform you, but because of your RH factor in your blood, you are the property of Universal Galactic Council Epsilon 65A.
And that's what Jimmy Jeans always talks about that as well, that RH. That factor in the blood. Now, that's some woo.
When they destroyed the dome in Egypt, the only way that they could survive was to mate with the hominids of Earth.
Wowzers, man. Talking of hominids and mating, really bad segue. Really bad segue, by the way, boys. really, like, not my best segue ever. Did you say
genetically modified?
I bet that going on for sure, exactly. But Big Ron again. Now, look, let me say right off the bat, usually not a big purveyor of Bigfoot photographs. I'm not impressed. I'm usually not impressed, boys, right? Very skeptical. However, one has come along here that I think really I think it might warrant some more attention. Now, I'm going to take this picture and I will post it to the TFR chat room in just a second, if I can get it, because it's one of these files that isn't savable. But this comes from Lad Bible, 2nd of September. Experts stunned by a Bigfoot caught on video in a new sighting. Now, I'm not going to play the video right now because obviously we're on the radio as well, but I'm going to get this photograph. Wait 2 seconds here, but look at this photograph here, guys. I'll describe it. It looks very muscular. Very well defined, right? That's a big boy.
Very well defined, yeah.
Now, let me grab a screen capture of this. What do you make of that on first appearance? And if you can describe it for Nacy there, Scotty, I'll grab a screen grab of this.
Well, it's a fairly clear image. I mean, given that it's supposed to be a picture of Bigfoot or something, but yeah, I mean, he's standing fairly out in the open, coming out from, walking from right to left. I'm describing this for Naysay there. He's walking from right to left. It looks like he's walking out from behind like a bush or a tree or something. And he's just kind of standing out in the open. He's right in the middle of the photograph, and definitely looks very Bigfooty to me. Very Sasquatch-esque. A dark kind of black mass hominid. Obviously looks like covered in hair, and very clear. I mean, it's a pretty clear photo or image of it. And so, yeah, I mean, who knows?
Video's not playing anyway, but it says here a new video has surfaced showing what some people believe may be a Bigfoot, although others remain dubious that the mythical creature has been captured on film. Now, we're not watching it just now. I'm just going to read this, and then there's a further away view of it there.
Okay, yeah.
I'll just do another screen grab.
Yeah. He's just kind of like walking out from the trees and the bushes, kind of walking out into a clearing. And
well, people listening on the radio, it says here NVTV, that's the name of the YouTube channel. It says it's the largest database of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, skunk ape, yowie, werewolves, dogman, and other cryptid content. It's not Apex TV for cryptids, is it? Recently posted on video on YouTube, saying that the title, Incredible Muscular Giant-Sized Sasquatch on Camera. So I'm going to put that title into the chat room over at TFR.
I would probably have to see the video to see how it's walking.
Yeah, same here. We'll have a look during the break, but I've given it to the radio audience just now, and it says here it also adds that the footage was captured in Idaho, USA, while going to say that the video itself, after watching the clip and looking at the amount of detail in this suit, we thought this is something real you cannot buy online. This Bigfoot in the video looks very real, and you can even make out the heavy build and all the muscles, which is hard to replicate using a fake suit. Plus, who in the right mind would rent or buy a suit just to pull off a hoax? Oh, there'd be a lot of monetary reasons. Yeah, you can sell a video. If that's good enough, you'll sell that video. You probably get movies, maybe, at least interviews, books. So there is an incentive.
People in the chat look like they're seeing the video and are kind of looking skeptical about it. Donnie says that Donnie said that the neck and arms are too short or something like that, and he's walking wrong, so it doesn't look like.
Well, one thing that I shared with a dear friend of us
and stuff. So I don't know. Who knows, man?
I shared with a dear friend of us who's actually after Freaky Friday, Paranormal Portal, that on the Red Lake Reservation in northern Minnesota, there is an individual that has allegedly a VHS tape of a unarguable video of Bigfoot from the Red Lake, and he took the video, and I've been informed by three different entities have informed me of this being a valid thing. And I know on my reservation, the White Earth Reservation, in the bottom, the southern east corner, there has been Bigfoot sightings multitudes of times on my reservation. Well, not my reservation, the reservation I'm enrolled in. So I don't doubt it at all. We have a word, the Pugwaji, and from what I was told, the Pugwaji, that means the entities of the wilderness, not like animals, but like a sentient being, an entity of knowledge, kind of like a hominoid, a humanoid type entity, and some people call him the wild man, but it was the wilderness people, those that lived in the forest. So I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to it. Unfortunately, you know, when it comes to the Bigfoot, it's much like the
Okay,
the
all right,
UFOs.
right, we weren't looking at the right one here.
Okay, here we go. Well, what do we got going on here? Let's see how it looks.
Well, dodgy.
I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I don't know, man.
Do I think they exist? Absolutely.
Yes,
I think
in fact,
something
that's what I'm
exists.
saying.
Yeah.
It you know, when we talk about the Bigfoot thing, it's unfortunately it's like the UFO thing where you're gonna have to deal with a lot of hoaxes and stuff, wade through a lot of crap
Crisis
to actually
Bigfoot. Crisis Bigfoot. We'll be back after the break. 1 more hour to go on your Freaky Friday on your number one network. Don't go anywhere. There we go. There we go. Like, let's get some tunes on, shall we? Shall we?
Bigfoot's on Mars.
Oh man, can we see like when we were getting into that whole like space woo and things, all that was missing was a cryptid. It's all we needed, boys. I'm telling you, epic stuff.
Here we go from the Kev Baker Show to Freaky Friday with the Woo Crew. Can you handle the woo? Can you handle the woo? Scotty, Kevin, Naysay 2. Giving you a bunch of woo.
very ominous. Listen, dude, see if we ever make a horror movie, that's our music. In fact, that could be like the opening scenes to our Battlestar Galactica type space opera that we were working on in the first kind of hour of the show. We can just have the ships flying into that music, man. Earth, the blue marble to be fought over. Vying factions coming from multiple star systems from around the galaxy. And all for the main prize, In fact, dare I say it now, it could well be the...
And the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat.
Yep. As the reptilians looked at the locals, they sent down a man and he said,
So what are you going to do about it? Nothing? Sweet Fanny Adams, is it?
No, I figured he said, why don't you put that in your pipe and smoke it?
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
That's after they invade and, it's coming together here on Freaky Friday, right? GD, who knew GD Bakshi was a spaceman? Oh man, but the only thing he isn't.
That's after they get familiar with the rules and everyone's getting along. That's when you put it in your pipe and smoke it.
Now there would be a man that would know about Vermanos.
Oh,
when he reaches down under his chin and then he says, "You can't handle the truth," and he pulls back the face and it's not a human face underneath.
Oh, it's like V. It's like V, the TV show. The original one. Remember that? You too young? You remember that one, Scott? Yeah.
No, I remember. I was
Diana.
It was back when I was a young little kid. I remember my mom and them talking about it a lot and seeing it on TV. But
did you watch the recent one as well, where it was like well, it wasn't really a remake. It was like further on because Diana came into it towards the end.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that because my parents were. Because they were, they remember the old ones, so they were like, "Oh, let's see what this one's all about."
I remember watching that like with my mum and things, and that used to give me the nasties, man. When you seen them like peeling off, and it was the reptile thing. Before I knew all of, or started to get into the fact like real reptilian or perhaps real reptilian things they say. And that definitely, that whole thing stuck with me. And then recently done a great show with Jules and Nano Girl where we got back into all of that stuff. And who knows just how many kernels of truth may be contained in the vast mosaic of media that surrounds us.
As we were talking about the Galactic Opera, and you're talking about the V and the reintroduction of V, right away it made me think about the updated version of Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, now there's a show. That's a show.
That was a good series.
Oh, the final, like the finale, very very well done, very well thought out, very good. Very good.
Absolutely. And I got to also give it to Ron Hubbard in Battlefield Earth. The movie was not up to par comparatively to the book.
Yeah. No, I agree. I really liked the concept of Battlefield Earth, even though the movie didn't do.
Are we talking like the Scientology did now? We're into that.
Yeah.
Well, now there's a wacky topic, right?
Yeah.
You can't talk about that. They'll like whack you. They'll come after you, man. Tom Cruise will be unleashed like a pocket rocket. All 4 foot 5 inches of him will come over the Atlantic and kick my ass.
Well, I did.
That whole rabbit hole is a whole thing of weirdness that maybe I think that's probably more suited for when we're on Odyssey.
Probably, but wow, that deserves a month of shows on it.
And
I will out myself.
Oh, he has one. Here we go. He's the captain. He is the captain
I
of
will
the cult.
out myself, and I shall not call myself an ambassador.
Oh, God,
But
please
I,
don't. You'll give me
I might
deja
have to
vu, friend. You'll give me
profess.
deja vu.
I might have to profess that I am part of the priesthood of the almighty pinky toenail.
Oh. Nice. All right.
Where once a year we have to collect the toe jam from the pinky toe jam. But I
Dear
can't
Lord.
share the rituals or ceremonies we have with the
Thank
toe
goodness.
jam.
Thank goodness, man.
I have a little bit of a we'll have to maybe save it for another Freaky Friday, but the Scientology thing, I have a very interesting connection with all that, and it involves the old days of 4chan, and I may or may I'm gonna use the naysay disclaimer here. I may or may not have been involved.
Oh, I like it. I like
And
it.
a lot of-
Allegedly.
Yes, I may or may not have been involved in a lot of the shenanigans that Anonymous, that group Anonymous, right? Back in their infancy, back in their young early days, when they kind of made a name for themselves by going after the Scientologists. I may or may not have had a little role to play in some of those shenanigans. So
As a mere casual observer of the internet, obviously, allegedly.
Allegedly. Oh yeah.
Don't want Tom Cruise coming for you, man. I'd hate to think of that.
Though that will be a story for another day. So.
But it was brilliant when South Park came out with their episode and got sued by Scientology.
Yeah, they're kind of ruthless when it comes to people criticizing them or putting them under the.
I was just going to say how great it was. I was actually considering going in there, getting myself zapped up and things like that. And yeah, I'll go down there, dude. Nah, not. I wonder if there's one in Glasgow.
And then they got those weird, those weird like you're supposed to hold on to like the thing and it reads a meter out and all that stuff. It's like
I think it zaps you, man. I'm sure it zaps you.
What kind of science is that thing based off of? I mean,
now there's a name for it. Is it like no that because it started in a book, did it not? Is it? Hang on, Scientology. Diuretics, that's it.
If you just type that in on an engine search, you just got a red light went on somewhere.
I typed out Scientology and I think it's diuretics. I'm sure that's the name of it. Yeah,
Yep.
Diuretics. Yeah.
That was his first book. I think it was his initiating book that he came out with, and it all folded out from that one.
Yeah.
I remember being really.
I've got it in code on the Streamlabs here. I'll need to flip it back the right way, or people will be thinking I'm totally mad. Transform, flip that. I do that to convince myself that we won't get a copyright strike when I play a video. It's just purely for my own needs. Dianetics is a set of ideas and practices regarding the metaphysical relationship between the mind and body created by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard. Dianetics is practiced by the followers of Scientology and the Nation of Islam. Dianetics was originally conceived as a branch of psychiatry. Very interesting, which Hubbard would later despise when various psychoanalysts refused his form of psychotherapy. Though it is presented as a form of psychological treatment, Dianetics at its core, including auditing and engrams, have been rejected by psychologists and other scientists from the outset and are unsupported by credible evidence. There you go.
Disclaimer, the views and opinions of the host of Freaky Friday do not Do not add weight to the views and opinions of the creator of TFRlive.com.
No, it's just I'm reading out what it is. It is what it is. Hey.
I remember being a very young kid, right? And I remember seeing, because remember they used to have commercials all the time promoting L. Ron Hubbard's books, you know, and it used to be these really sort of grandiose, fantastic commercials of the book, like closing in on the screen and playing this like music, and it was like Dianetics, the new book from L. Ron Hubbard. Get it today, you know, and it's like you didn't even really know what you were getting into, which I guess was the point, right? Like you didn't know that you were going to be buying a book or being led into this whole Scientology thing. But yeah, I remember that stuff being promoted on TV a lot, you know, when I was young, and it's crazy. Now they have their own satellite TV channel.
Oh, you know, you made it when you get your own satellite channel, man. That's it.
Oh, I'll tell you what. It's a very interesting channel. If you just want to observe what they're all about. It's like, woo, okay. And
I just wish I would have shaved my head, put on those orange robes, and grab a tambourine and go to airports and sing with the rest of the group.
Oh, you look good doing that, man. So I think we must have had a bunch of Scientologists listening. We've just lost 10 listeners.
Well, you know, it is what it is. You know.
No Scientologists were hurt during the presentation of this video.
Absolutely not.
Maybe their feelings were hurt.
Now, where are we going?
But physically, no.
I'm sure I had something else kicking around here. I will check. I don't think I do.
I've got some tech woo if you want to.
Hey man, whatever you got, dude.
All right, I have it dropped there in the chat. So you know,
drop an anchor, Scotty, please. Drop an anchor.
Yes. So I came across this the other day, and I was like, oh, things are accelerating the way I, you know, kind of thought that they were going to be going. We have this company called Mojo Vision. It's kind of a corny name, I think, for a company doing what they're doing. Mojo Vision. It's very, whatever. But it says Mojo Vision crams its contact lens with AR display, processor, and wireless tech. So they've managed to miniaturize processors, Wi-Fi, and a display all the way down into a contact lens. So it says a sci-fi vision is coming into focus. On Tuesday, startup Mojo Vision detailed its project on a tiny AR display. AR display it embeds in contact lenses, providing a digital layer of information superimposed on what you see in the real world. The Mojo lens centerpiece is a hexagonal display less than 0.5 millimeter wide, with each greenish pixel just 1/4 of the width of a red blood cell. That's how small they've managed to scale these pixels down to the 1/4 of a width of a red blood cell. A femto projector, a tiny magnification system, expands the imagery optically and beams it to a central patch of the retina. The lenses are ringed with electronics, including a camera that captures the outside world. A computer chip processes the imagery, controls the display, and communicates wirelessly to external devices like a phone. A motion tracker that compensates for your eye's movement. The device is powered by a battery that's charged wirelessly overnight, like a smartwatch. He says, we have got this thing almost working. It's very, very close, said Chief Technology Officer Mike Weimer, detailing the design at the Hot Chips Processor Conference. Prototypes have passed toxicology tests, and Mojo expects a fully featured prototype this year. Mojo's plan is to leapfrog clunky headwear like Microsoft's HoloLens that have begun incorporating AR. If it succeeds, Mojo Lens could help people with vision problems, for example, by outlining letters in text or making curb edges more apparent. The product also could help athletes see how far they biked or how fast their heart is beating without checking other devices.
You know, I've always,
So-
before I can click on you, but I've always said that, I've always thought, well, firstly, I've always agreed with you, this would be the way to go. And this is why I don't think they even need to get a chip in your head, because you're better off doing it this way. And when you think about this as well, there's been a move, almost a fashion thing, right, in recent times where people wear different contacts for different eye colors, and you see people doing that a lot nowadays. I think that's been part of, like, and I'm not saying it's like they all got together and said, well, we'll make that a fashion, but it's got people used to it, right? Even people that don't wear glasses putting contacts in.
Yeah.
So you freaked me out, Scott, because
Go for it.
because in my situation of being blind, I was like, why could they not create a screen that can be medically implanted on the inside of your eyelid? And so when you close your eyes and you look up slightly, you can see a video screen. And it can play whatever you want or show you your computer screen instead of having like your smartphone or anything. You just close your eyes, look up and to the left a little bit, and there's your screen.
Well, we're definitely heading into that. That's I think going to be a reality here in the very near future, and I mean, this is the ever since kind of VR started to take off, years ago, Kev, when remember Oculus was just in its infancy, and we were talking about it, and
One of
we
the
were
few
wondering
shows to actually interview somebody in VR as well, right? We went there with Spooky Andy, remember?
Oh yes, Spooky Andy was actually broadcast
yes.
Yeah.
from his VR world and all of that stuff. That was really cool. And we were wondering, if it was going to catch on, right? Because they tried this back in the 90s, right? But it was the technology was too clunky, it was too expensive, it just wasn't fleshed out, it wasn't ready yet. We didn't have the processing power to actually generate graphics that looked realistic enough to really want to be in VR. But now, the game has changed, and VR is already a staple of our society now. It's not like it was a fad that went away. I mean, hell, I think this Christmas I'm seriously contemplating probably getting maybe a PlayStation VR, or maybe getting an Oculus. I don't know.
We'll take this even further, Scott, right? Because imagine this same technology when you close your eye, almost using like your eyelid as like a screen, where you can literally be transferred into Ready Player One. You lie back, close your eyes, and away you go, man. App on your phone. Away you go.
This is where we're going. I mean, right now, I'm sure these micro displays, from what I understood, and because I got to this article from actually a YouTube video, and the YouTube video is kind of going a little deeper into what this contact lens does. Right now, it only displays one color, which is green, and it's just enough to like display text and maybe some more simple graphics, if you will. It's not like you're going to be watching high def or anything.
It's at 8-bit.
Yeah, it's right now. It's in its infancy. It's basically displaying more of like a heads-up display kind of messages and things like that. But this is the direction we're going. Things are being scaled down, and eventually we're going to reach a point to where we don't have to be wearing these big clunky headsets. You just put these contacts in. That's the next step, and I also got to point out, we're talking about augmented reality. Virtual reality and augmented reality are two different things. And I think people get those confused because virtual reality is when you fully immerse yourself in a digital world. Augmented reality is when things are overlaid on actual reality. So, like,
well, aren't you talking about techno schizophrenic? Where somebody thinks they're seeing something, and what if it actually is they're technologically having something broadcast?
That's a concern, actually, and that's something I've talked about before, right? Where when augmented reality gets to a point where the graphics are so good, where you really can't distinguish the difference between something being overlaid and something that's actually there. I mean, it would be very easy, like, say, we'll use an example, like a hacker or something could like maybe hack into somebody's display and project a person in front of them that doesn't even exist, right?
Long
but they
live
believe
the new flesh. Video drone. Have either one of you seen Video Drone with James Wood?
Doesn't ring a bell, man.
Check that movie out. I beg of thee. Sorry.
It's on par. It's on par. I think Videodrome is kind of like on par with like a They Live sort of situation. It had those kind of ramifications as far as the messaging in it and everything. But
disclaimer: it's highly sexual in nature.
Yeah.
But the content is it, and because I've lost my sight, as I was losing my sight, I wanted to learn about the eyeball. And as I learned more and more about the eyeball, I started learning about how, through our optic nerve, how information or data is imprinted on our brains. And out of all of the senses, the way that data is imprinted on our brains through the eyeball is very, very interesting and scary, especially if we're sitting here looking at our screens. And if we're only collectively seeing 13% of what we're looking at, that means, there's 87% can be manipulated, and our subconscious is picking it up, but our conscious isn't.
My consciousness left town a long time ago, man.
So I think if they get this technology kind of like fleshed out and it becomes mainstream, I think we're going to be seeing a future to, because remember how creeped out people were about the Google Glass stuff, Kev? What people would see somebody wearing the Google Glass, they got all like creeped out, and they didn't want people wearing them around them because it had a camera on it and it was like scanning people and just now it's like you're not going to know if somebody's wearing these contacts, right? And what kind of information can they glean from you? Like what kind of apps are going to end up being made? Are you going to be able to walk around and just like any random stranger walking up to you, does it facial scan them? Because now we got face scanning AI, right? It can face scan somebody and match them with a social profile, right? Like their Facebook or their Twitter or something like that, and you can just immediately get information on a person just by the public knowledge that's already out there about them, because everybody already puts their information out online for everybody to see anyways on social media. So you could already kind of gauge and have an idea of like who you're dealing with before you even talk to them, or learn about
next thing you know, they're going to have facial recognition on guillotines. Sorry.
Who knows, man? Who knows? It's wild. It's wild. I don't know, man. But yeah,
Sorry,
I mean, that's
that was
going
brilliant yesterday.
Yeah.
Inside joke there, audience. Sorry if you missed the
yes,
show yesterday with Kevin Scotty.
That's hilarious. But nah, man. And stay tuned, everyone, because we are heading to break.
On the
and
break, last segment.
Final segment.
There we go. There we go. And I've got a story for after the break as well. Oh,
Ooh, nice.
woo. But yes, that was a good one. They say sorry. I was diving, man. I was looking for woo to take us into the paranormal portal, and I hope you people jump on over to check Brent out.
So you know when I was telling you about my phone went dead?
Well,
yeah.
Give us a couple of minutes. I'll put the music on quietly, right?
Right.
My computer went dead also.
Ooh.
They're coming to get you, Martha. That will grow. Like, share, or subscribe, or else.
I'm still thinking of all of those reptilian ships flying in, boys. I can feel a weekend on After Effects coming on.
My fantastical intergalactic war story has
Dude, I
got
love
Kev's
stuff like
juices
that, man.
flowing.
Listen, I've wrote a couple of chapters for Bill Bean, right? And it's always been in my mind, if I'm going to write anything, it's going to be fiction. And it's going to be sci-fi, right? That's why when I love listening to like just random conversations like that, dude. Because that's man, it's priceless, woo. Priceless.
Well, when we get back, I'll tell you something. It's kind of funny, and you'll like it.
Gentlemen, if you wish, I could share with you guys the
Well,
woo
we
that
are back from the break. Damn you. I was playing our TFR audience some musical kind of building the anticipation there. You know, as you do, and boom. Then they say, loving it, man. They say, come on, take us into the final segment, dude.
Well, I just got permission from my daughter to share the woo. As I've shared with you guys, we have experiences in our home, and my daughter has experienced new woo.
Okay.
That in her home where she lives with her mother part-time, that she was laying in her bunk bed, and all of a sudden her door opened a crack, and then it closed, and then it started jiggling again, the doorknob, and then it opened up about 4 or 5 inches, and then all of a sudden her cat that was laying on the bunk bed with her sits up and starts looking at something that is beyond her bed. And she said that she was just laying there and she refused to look. And then all of a sudden the cat just bolted and said, "I'm out of here." And yeah.
We like personal woo. We've had Scotty's shadow people, the weird photo, Naysay's woo, my shadow man. And now Scotty's got some. You had something as well when we were just coming back.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, when you were talking about how, you know, you still had the images of like spaceships flying with the, you know, and my little fantastical story.
But did you imagine it, or did you get it from the Akashic record? Was it floating about out there, man?
Who knows? But just a funny little side fact about, because if you give me enough to work with, I'll weave a story out of something if I have enough content to work with. But you know, when I was younger, me and my friends used to. I'm a huge fan of absurdist comedy. You know, like Monty Python or anything like that. Like if the more ridiculous and just like absurd something is, the more I like it. So me and my friends, when we were young, we used to just sit around and just make up the most weirdest, absurdist, fantastical stories, right? Like just come up with just these weird stories and just have ourselves just cracking up laughing, you know, because we were essentially just being comedians for each other, you know, like just being our own comedians and just coming up with our own just weird, crazy, fantastical stories. And somebody told me when I was young that I should write stories, you know, and maybe, you know, who knows? I probably could weave together some kind of a crazy sci-fi intergalactic battle story or whatever, but if I did, it would have to be splashed with just complete absurdist comedy. It would be like I would have to throw like a bunch of space balls in with it if I did something like that. So I don't know.
Funny you say that, Scotty. Because I've been pondering about finding a ghostwriter. Because I have a story that I call The Great Microwave Mishap.
Can I recommend Mark Twain? Come on, man.
Only
Come
if I can get a
on,
divot box. If I can get him out of a divot box, then I will utilize that ghosty.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm on a level of ghostwriting for somebody or anything like that. But no, I just thought it was funny because we used to just come up with some of the most weird, absurdist sort of, and we would just kind of work with what we had, like things that we've observed or whatever, and then we would just start coming up with just like completely ridiculous scenarios that would end up just having us laughing to the point where we couldn't even breathe. Yeah.
I have absolute faith that the three of us could easily pump out some total comic woo.
Oh, I'm sure we could. I'm sure. Or if we actually really wanted to put together some serious sci-fi fiction kind of stuff, I think we could definitely come up with something as well.
Right.
I like
think
the whole idea of kind of how they done it with Lost. There was like weird crap in Lost, like islands disappearing and time shifts and all sorts of things, right? If you haven't watched Lost, what an experience. That's all I can say. But there was a podcast that went along with that I loved to listen to. And the reason I loved to listen to it was because for all of the weird and wonderful and wacky theories and plot lines and twists that were in there, they would have like either theoretical physicists or existing science papers where it was all based on things that conversations like we're having today or papers that had already been put out there. It wasn't as if they'd just made it up as they went along. So I think if you could like do some kind of book like that and then pull from like the real far out kind of physics, like crazy stuff, but then put a narrative, like weave the story through it, man. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I like, where it's tied into some
At
real
least
stuff.
Yeah, at least got some kind of.
There's a little anchor of reality in it, or what's
which just makes you think.
Yeah, that's the good stuff there. That's the stuff that
18 plus 18 is 36. So hanger 36.
Now Donnie says what what? Oh, we've got a home for hanger 36 now. Yes, indeed. But Donnie says, what if a ghost got personal with you? Depends what it looks like. Hey, well, I'm just being honest, and obviously what it identifies as. So I would want it to specify. That's that whole incubus and succubus thing, right? Now there's some freaky deaky Friday woo.
And usually when those get personal with you, it's not a good time.
No,
you might.
Did it not manifest as like all right to begin with, though? Like lure you in, like a temptress coming to get you, and then all of a sudden they turn into the old hag and things, and whoa! Before you know it,
very similar. It's almost a similar story to like when you hear about the sirens, right? It's the singing of the sirens. They tempt you to the water. They're very attractive. They allure you.
Australian accent singing away. Where'd I go?
Well, that one movie, Entity, about the woman that was being harassed by the poltergeist, wasn't, if I remember correctly, that was based upon a true story.
I think there's something very real to it, Nancy. Yeah.
About I mean, if you think about a ghostie being in its form for years and years and years and wanting to experience the physical again, if it was an entity considered a man, sorry about genitalia, but you would possibly think, right? Well, that's the difference between the succubus and the incubus. So now we got to find a new.
Now, if it says that in a gruff voice like that, and they say, "What do you do?" If you're looking at it and you're thinking, "I don't quite know what you are."
Right.
Well,
do you think there's a ghosty court? There's ghosty court.
That's when things get really bad, and all of a sudden you start sweating, and you're going, "Oh man, I don't like how this is about to go,"
And all the shadows come off the floor like ghosts,
sure this is going.
Goes all face suckerish, and no, it's not a good time coming, man.
Was that the metal slurping?
No,
If you
I
hear
don't know. I think it might be me.
if you hear the gruff voice, it's like, you mean it's ma'am? And
I
you just
rebuke
gotta-
you at that point. I rebuke it, Scott. It's only then, though.
By the power of the almighty pinky toenail, I cast you out.
You just got to close your eyes and go to your happy place at that point, I think.
Says, excuse me, it's Sheila. Oh no, what'd I do? Good night, mate. How did we get here? How did we get here?
Somebody should have thrown
Incubus.
anchor out a long time ago.
Oh, we're in the drift, didn't we? See, look, we forgot we were in the drift. You know
It's
what
the
this is?
final
This is the
That's what it
the
is.
night before. We did set sail from Speculation Island, because at the start of the show, we said next week we'll be in a new home when it comes to the video end of this. So this is the drift. This is us traveling. We're making the journey now. Yeah, we're edging towards the. It could be the cliff. I don't know.
To boldly go where no ma'am has gone before.
Brilliant, dude. I love it.
Are you saying where you're just now beginning to enter the Odyssey star constellation? Is that what it is?
I like it, dude. I like it. Yeah.
I think so. And
Is
I mean,
that
then
why
look at-
they've got like a spaceman type logo? Is that what's going on there?
That's exactly what I was just about to say. Is, you know,
Aye.
it makes a lot of sense.
We're like the Wizard of Oz, where the balloon has lost its tether, and we have gone beyond the realms of it.
I think
Dorothy,
you know.
we're not in Kansas anymore.
I think we'll just have to have a word with our new friend Scott. You know, the CEO of Odyssey, and see if we can definitely be using this more. With it being all open source and that, I can see a lot of spaceman activity going on over there.
Ah, very nice. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yes, indeed. But listen. Let's go where we always go on a Freaky Friday. It would be rude not to. Have you guessed it yet? Mysterious Universe. But it's a good story, guys. It's a good story. Where was this? Look. Fantastic graphics of Merlin
Wow.
here. Merlin in what looks like, get this, right? Totally. You mean you've seen me looking like during the last segment? It's almost looking like the Red Planet or an extra planet with wings on it.
Oh, it kind of does.
And we were
doesn't it?
talking about a winged. Hey, listen, I'll take those synchronicities and confirmation bias where I can get it, right? So it says Merlin proof. How often do we talk about myths? We started the show with a myth, right? Atlantis, the myth of Atlantis. And we often come back to the fact that these stories are based in truth. It's oral stories handed down by remnants of those that went before. So it says here the oldest manuscript about the magician identified and analysed. So it says those who believe in the legend of King Arthur, the Lady of the Lake, Excalibur, and the Knights of the Round Table must, by association, buy into the existence of Arthur's valuable helper, Merlin the Wizard. Let me stop there then, guys. What do you reckon right off the bat? What have you always thought about Merlin? Real dude? Based on somebody? I have.
Yeah, I think he was based off of an actual person. You know, now how much was embellished or added on? I mean, who knows? Who knows? But I think with just like with any myth or legend or tale that's been passed down, you know, there's it's based in something that happened. There's a base of reality that it formed from.
And
Or-
you know,
or
think of alchemy and things like that, right? And the royals, they've always had their magicians and things, and you better believe the royal would have somebody that could potentially turn lead into gold. You better believe it. Do you know what I'm saying?
We just talked about that on Luna's roundtable last Saturday, where we were talking about wisdom, wizard, and how the royal, the elitist, they would look for their wizard. They would look for their individual that was extremely smart and would, know all of these mystic things with their pointy wizard hat, looking a little bit like Jimmy Jeans in the cupboard, and doing its magic with
He
a
is our
K,
resident wizard, isn't he, old Jimmy?
or the prestidigitation.
No, yeah, and Jules, big shout out to our friend Jules, who I mentioned earlier on. She's actually sent me that wisdom show to listen to, so I'll need to give that a listen now. I've never made that association before, wisdom, wizard. I like it though, I definitely like it. So it says, in 2009, fragments of a 13th century handwritten manuscript were found with the name Merlin on them, and initial analysis confirmed them as potentially the earliest known reference to the wizard. After 2 years of painstaking study and restoration, using the latest technology in forensic handwriting analysis, academics from the University of Bristol and Durham have published their results in a new book. The Bristol Merlin, revealing the secrets of a medieval fragment. And the story of how the manuscripts were created is as interesting as the new details into the legend. Do they prove the existence of the most famous wizard in history? It says, quote, we were able to date the manuscript from which the fragments were taken to 1250 to 1275 through a paleographic handwriting analysis and located it to northern, possibly northeastern France through a linguistic study. Got diuretics on the brain now. The text itself, the Suite Vulgate du Merlin. Le Suite Vulgate du Merlin. I'm sure that's how they say it somewhere in France. Was written in about 1220 to 1225. So this puts the Bristol manuscript within a generation of the narrative's original authorship. We were also able to place the manuscript in England as early as 1300 to 1350, thanks to an annotation in the margin. Again, we were able to date the handwriting and identify it as an English hand. Most manuscripts of the text known to have been in England in the Middle Ages were composed after 1275, So this was an especially early example. Both the Suite Vulgate manuscripts in general anywhere, but especially the ones known to have found their way to England from France in the Middle Ages. Now, as described in the press release, Professor Leah Tether, president of the International Arthurian Society, who knew there even was one, from Bristol's Department of English, her husband, medieval historian and manuscript specialist, Dr. Benjamin Pole, from the university's Department of History, and Dr. Laura Chuhan Campbell, a specialist in the old French Merlin stories from Durham University, did the analysis with the help of Professor Andy Beebe of Durham University, Department of Chemistry, whose mobile Raman, R-A-M-A-N, spectrometer helped them to read the damaged segments more clearly. It's like a chronovisor. One interesting new revelation concerns King Claudius, who in more modern accounts was said to have been wounded through his thighs in battle with Arthur's forces. Now, the Bristol Merlin doesn't give a reason for the wound, which is often a metaphor for impotence or castration. The Bristol Merlin plays down the alleged sexual encounter with the enchantress Vivian, thought to be the Lady of the Lake, and plays up his military leadership during the battle. On the wizardry side, it details Merlin's dream interpretation prowess and his ability to put people to sleep, a skill that Vivian wanted him to teach her. It says, quote, beside the exciting conclusions, one thing that undertaking this study, edition and translation of the Bristol Merlin has revealed is the immeasurable value of interdisciplinary and trans-institutional collaboration which in our case has forged a holistic, comprehensive model for studying medieval manuscripts, fragments, which we hope will form and encourage future work in the field. And to wrap it up, it says, in the end, Professor Tether is more impressed by how well the researchers were able to read the damaged texts, piece them together, and expand on the stories, which apparently changed in later texts. See how things change over time, folks? If Merlin was a real person, this early account shows him to be more of a military relationship and family counseling wizard. He's a bit woke. With
A strategist.
than a magical one. Perhaps the real benefit is that these analysis techniques will help interpret even older fragments and manuscripts that could one day link the tales of Merlin and Arthur, or historical figures who inspired the legend. And think about all the other ancient documents we've often talked about, boys. You know, languages, some of them almost like can't crack them. I think over time this could definitely be something that reveals Big Woo. Big Woo.
Can I bring this back to Atlantis by way of the Dogon?
Oh, any way you like. It's a great way to finish the show when you get back to where you started. That's the complete circle, my friend. What we all dream
So
of.
if we look at
If
we look at the Dogon and their headdress and how they mimic the mitre of the Catholic Church, and we think of the wizard, and as you bring about Merlin, right away the first thing I think of is Mer, land, the Mer people that came from the waters, where Tiamat was the water planet, and the cataclysm happened that sunk Atlantis into the water, and those that escaped the water, the Mer people from Merland, were sought after because of their extreme strategy, their way of analyzing things, their alchemy, and their magic and prestidigitation.
It's Merman. Come on. Come on. But you know, to take it to where I am, you're going Dogon. You mentioned Dogon there. The Dogon, they've got a connection to Scotland. There's, is it Laird Stranton? I can't remember the guy's name. But there it is there. If I bring it up, let me see. It is Laird Scranton, yes. The Mystery of Skara Brae, Neolithic Scotland, and the Origins of Ancient Egypt. Because you see a lot of the similar stonework on Skara Brae, a prehistoric site. And I tell you what, he makes a pretty compelling case for it being very, very similar to ones that you find off the north of Scotland. And hey, listen, we often talk about how in the past, these people, we started off by saying not all the hunter-gatherers we've always been taught they were. Some were amazing engineers, like we heard. Some built Atlantis, and some, at one point, were a seafaring global empire. Many times, maybe. Seas rise, seas fall. So do civilizations. It all seems to tie in with these damn cycles that we keep on talking about. Talking of cycles, we won't be back here same time, same place next week. Only we will on TFR Live and over on Odyssey. I think that's the perfect end to this cycle. As I can see land. Land, boys, land. I see land beyond the drift. We're almost there.
It's not land that you're viewing. The planet that's coming into view. We're seeing a planet just off in the distance.
Or is it a mirage?
Oh no. Maybe the drift is playing tricks on our mind.
Oh, sounds like a really good Star Trek episode.
Tom Cruise is working that diuretics thing out, isn't he? He heard us, man. He's at it, dude.
That's what the metallic straw slurping sound was.
I reckon he's a demonic imp in a skin suit.
Ooh.
Incubus?
Oh man, I imagine it would come looking like that. Yeah.
Well,
Xenu,
at least you're taller than him, right?
I wonder if he's ever been accused of being an incubus before. That's a what a way to take out a show, man. An image for you girls that grew up loving Tom Cruise, you know? You'll never watch the new Top Gun the same, will you? I know you won't. Now you love that image. We've ruined it for everyone. There'll be people writing in, I seen him shifting. I seen him shifting. If you slow down the video, slow the video right down and you screw your eyes up, you see him shifting and that. Bet you.
Especially when he was playing volleyball.
I miss those days of people analyzing the eyes.
Oh, we're out of time, but stay tuned to Paranormal Portal on the way. We'll be back same time, same place on the home of Freaky Friday, TFR Radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR.
Toodles.
Yes. And to all of you special YouTube people, now remember, I'm not going anywhere on YouTube, but Freaky Friday will be trying this new beach that I see ahead of us here. It looks nice, boys. It looks nice.
We're gonna try to stake our claim, plant our flag on this new beach, try to set up a new encampment.
It looks like a digital anarchy. It looks like our kind of place, man.
I'm really liking the vibe over at Odyssey. I'm not gonna lie. I really like the vibe over there. So, if you're able to, people, just head on over there, and we'll be doing Freaky over there. And like Kev said, he's not leaving YouTube. Even if there's really good stuff in the Freaky episode that passes the algorithm sniff test, he's gonna crop it out and post it here on YouTube as well. So it's not like we're just disappearing or anything like that. But the live broadcast that'll be done over on Odyssey. So, and
there's an idea floating around in the ether. An idea floating around in the ether out there. You never know what might end up transpiring over on that.
Moron donated $5 through Super Chat. Great lurk. Much love, chat. PvP. Just
Ron,
hide, lol.
Wow, that went on longer than I thought. But Ron, love you right back, brother. Big thank you to you. We had another super chat tonight. Let me replay that. We had Jocelyn. Big thank you to you, Jocelyn. There we go. And Leslie as well.
Jocelyn Richardson donated $5 through Super Chat. Just to start Freaky Friday.
Awesome. And Leslie was through PayPal. And Leslie is nice and chilled now. She had a couple of weeks there where it was up and down. And Leslie, really glad to hear that today over on Discord. And if you want to join us on Discord, I'm rarely in there, I admit it. However, that being said, it's not my Discord. It's just my name on the door. And it's digital anarchy in there. To a point, we kick out total douches. There's just no douchery. Don't be a douche, don't be an idiot, and you'll be fine. But it's somewhere you can go. There's loads of stuff over there. You can just chat over in general chat type away. Usually some of the people get together after a show and join a proper actual discussion. So head on over there. I hope ZX can invite you. And I'm going to get out of here because I have got wrestling to watch with the wee man. So I'm going to put music on and then hurriedly say goodbye to the guys. And we'll see you on Odyssey next week. Odyssey, folks. I'll drop you a link.
Justin Ruocco donated $9.99 through Super Chat.
Oh, wow. Thank you very, very much, sir. Thank you.